Benjamin Kagan. Y'all make some noise for Benjamin Kagan right now. Make some noise for him.
Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. On behalf of the Mayor's Youth Commission, My Shine, My Future, and the City of Chicago, I'm honored to welcome you to the 2024 Youth Budget Roundtable. My name is Benjamin Kagan, and it's been my privilege to serve as a Mayor's Youth Commissioner for the past 2 years and chair of the Public Health Working Group this past year. As a cohort, we've had the opportunity to influence city policy, work with municipal and community leaders, and represent the youth voice in city government. Today, you'll get the opportunity to hear from other young people, community and government leaders who will share important information and their perspectives to assist in the budget formulation process. This planning was started back in January and has been designed by numerous members of city engagement councils, advisory councils, task forces, working groups, delegate agencies, community organizations, and most importantly, members of the Mayor's Youth Commission who are right back there. I encourage you to make the most of this opportunity to connect with city leaders, gain insights from your table mates, and learn more about the budgeting process. Now, it is my honor to introduce a man who has dedicated his career as an educator and public servant to supporting young Chicagoans. Through record investments in education, employment opportunities, and underserved communities, he is providing our city's youth with the resources they need to begin creating their impact. Please join me in welcoming to the stage the 57th Mayor of the great city of Chicago, Brandon Johnson.
Wow. Hey, thank you so much. Wow, check you all out. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Benjamin, for your leadership. I am so excited to be with you all and our young people of this amazing city. I hope you all are enjoying your summer, enjoying your neighbors, but most of all, that you are finding and fulfilling your purpose. God has given each of you gifts and talents. We need to see them. We need to experience them. But I do want to thank the Mayor's Youth Commission, all the commissioners for joining us today. I'm also grateful for DJ Hot Rod, second year in a row, DJ Hot Rod, y'all give it up. And then of course the Chicago Public Library, but specifically the Harold Washington Library where history was made. You all are here today because your voices matter. You play an important role in providing us with your ideas and stories and telling us about your experiences and challenges living in Chicago. Your feedback is critical. It has helped me create my first budget, and your feedback is going to help us build this next budget. Because your values truly reflect the values of the people of Chicago. This is your chance, though. Take full advantage of it as your mayor to tell me how the city has to invest in people and in your neighborhoods. Now, there are some that may not take you seriously. Maybe some of you have felt ignored over the course of your few years on the earth, but know that you are seen, that you are valued, and that you are loved. Because of your voices, we were able to allocate funding in housing and homelessness support, community safety, neighborhood development. How about mental health services? Don't you all agree that we need more mental health services in the city of Chicago? Well, we were able to transform and move in that direction because of your voices. Our environment, so many more things. So today you're gonna have discussions, and I want you to think about the challenges that you are facing. Listen to me carefully. I need you to really lean in and talk to each other and the people in this room about the real challenges that you are facing. Don't sugarcoat anything. You tell the truth. Because it's through these discussions will help us be more triumphant in achieving our goal to build a better, stronger, safer Chicago. I want to know what works. I want to know what doesn't work. But I also want to know that you are committed to doing everything in your power to effectively and positively transform the daily lives. Your ideas, in closing, are our solutions. I'll say that one more time. Your ideas are our solutions. So now that you've had your third helping of tacos, just the greediest group that I've seen, and that you are taking back your Coca-Cola and your Sprite, and that you have already posted online that you are hanging out with the greatest mayor in the entire world, Mayor Brandon Johnson. That'll be me. Thank you very much. Now that you're doing that, let's get to work. God bless you all. Thank you. Continue to clap for our budget director, Annette Guzman.
Good evening, everyone. How are you? Oh, I'm gonna do that one more time. How's everybody doing tonight? Great, thank you. I'm actually gonna come out into the room with you because I know that you guys do not want to hear a lecture. Give it up for not getting a lecture. How about that? Yay, not getting a lecture. But I do want to ask you guys a couple of questions because I want to make this real for you. I want you to understand the exercise that you're about to engage in because, as the mayor said, we want to hear from you. We want to know about the challenges you face so that we can craft a budget that better responds to your needs. To do that, I think it's important to understand what a budget is in the first place. How many of you guys currently budget for your home, for the money you might get from your job? Raise your hand high. How many people have jobs? How many people budget the money that they get from those jobs? All right, so in the work that you do to budget the money that you get, you have to think about how much money am I getting and how many expenses do I have, right? Right? That's the same thing we do at the city. That's the same thing we do when we're trying to determine our budget every year. So I'm gonna ask really quickly, and I'm gonna come to a couple of you. Give me an example of why do you think the city of Chicago actually makes a budget? What role does a budget play in the governance of the city? Just any idea that you might have. Raise your hand, and I'll come to you. All right, right in the front. I love it. What role does a budget play?
I believe that a budget is important because it allows us to make sure that funds are equally distributed to everything or anything possible that is needed.
Great answer. Who else has an answer for me? Right here. I want some men in the audience to also raise their hands. You got the girls answering all of our questions. All right, what role does the budget play?
So money isn't misplaced or misused?
Money is not misplaced and misused. Yes, what else we got? Who else has an answer? Right in the front. All right, people in the back. Anybody in the back want to give an answer? The front is doing better.
Making sure the city expenses are paid.
Say it one more time.
Making sure the city expenses are paid.
Yes, yes. Who else? I'll take one more answer. Right in the back. I'm coming to you. Sorry, I have on heels, everybody. All right, tell me your name.
You said my name? Yeah. Elijah.
Yes.
Why is the city budget? Because it's a big city and there's a lot of people, and because there's so many people, you want to make sure that everyone is being, there's equity involved in that.
Yes, equity. We have our chief equity officer in the house as well, and she agrees with that. We'll take one more. Tell me your name.
Aiden Hughes.
Aiden, all right. Why does the city budget?
One of the reasons why budgets are necessary for major cities like Chicago, it's mainly because so that the city struggle in between words, but the reason why budgets are so important to major cities like Chicago is because just so that, to explain it, just so that the city has its resources, like for mental health, homelessness, and that each department is adequately staffed, and that the vacancies aren't unfilled, and what we need right now. What we need right now is an equitable budgeting process. Compared to Johnson's predecessors,
Okay, we're not gonna get into politics.
I don't mean to be political, but we need a more transparent, more equitable budgetary process.
Very good. Thank you so much. I might need to hire him because he summed it up. So thank you for everyone that participated. You guys actually got it right. So why do we budget? What role does budgeting play in public finance? First and foremost, you'll hear this often. The budget is a policy document. The mayor often says, and this comes from our foundation in our religion and our church, that where your heart is, where your treasure is, so is your heart also. So what you invest in shows what's important to you. So a budget is a policy document in that it's showing us what our priorities from a policy standpoint are. So that's the first thing. Next, it's an accountability metric. Somebody said we want to make sure we're tracking the dollars, we want to make sure it's not being misused. The budgets help us understand how were we allocating resources and did we actually use it for that purpose. You can actually see this in the documents that we post on the budget website. At the end of every year, our comptroller, who's strolling around right there, has to put together a document that shows how we use the money at the end of the year. So it's an accountability metric. It's a planning tool. So I asked all of you if you budget, right? The reason why you budget is because you're trying to plan how you're going to use your money. That's both in the short term, like how do I pay to get on the bus every day to go to work or to go to school. It's also over the long term. Am I saving up money so that I can go to college in 4 years, right? So it's a planning tool. Someone also said it helps distribute and allocate resources. We have over 38 departments in the city of Chicago. We have three elected officials and an entire legislative body, right? That's a lot of departments and a lot of people who have a lot of different priorities. So we gotta make sure that we're distributing those resources and allocating them equitably. I heard that by 2 people today. And then finally, what are we here to do today? We're here to engage. We've been doing this work since March this year, engaging with our community advisory boards, our task forces, our subcommittees. We've engaged with the public, and now we're engaging with you. We want to hear from the public. Budgets are an avenue for public engagement because you're the reason why we budget. We want to make sure that our budget is reflecting the needs of the community. All right, so now that we know what budgets are for in public organizations, for the city of Chicago, what resources do we have available? Some of you might know this. You might have heard things in the paper of how the city of Chicago raises revenue to pay for all the expenses that it has. I'll just ask 2 people to raise their hands. What are some of the revenues that you think the city gets in order to support its budget? 2 people, raise your hands. Just shout it out to me. I don't see any hands. Oh, okay. I'm gonna go to you first. Tell me your name, and then what revenues do we have?
My name is Mohammed, and I would think the first resource would be taxes.
What type of taxes?
What type of taxes? I'm not very sure about that. I just know taxes.
Taxes, yes. We all know about taxes, so yes. Anyone else have an answer or response? All right, tell me your name and what type of revenue does the city collect?
Connolly, taxes, but then also grants, and for a specific type of taxes, local Chicago taxes.
I think somebody's been reading the budget book, huh? No, I like that. Thank you. So, right, those are two ways. Oh, one more. Okay, I love it. Stop me. Tell me your name and tell me your revenues.
My name is Jacob, and cancel all tickets. Yeah, all car tickets cancel.
But you did just identify another revenue source, which are fees and fines at the city. So we have a wide variety of revenue sources that we collect, some of which have been talked about already. Local taxes. So Connolly talked about how we as a city can impose our own taxes in the city of Chicago. That comes through what we call our home rule authority. By state statute, some municipalities in the city have the ability to impose their own taxes. So this comes in the form of some of the taxes that we impose. We also get what we call government fees. So if you go to, let's say, the clerk's office because you need to register your car, you know, that wheel tax that we do, so you have to pay a fee in order to get that sticker that goes on your car. In addition, I don't see that she's here, but the CFO for the city of Chicago is responsible for issuing bonds into the market. So we issue debt instruments that allow us to build a lot of things, whether it's a bridge, whether it's resurfacing our streets, any of our capital assets we continue to maintain and we continue to develop through bond revenue. Property tax, our gentleman over here talked about taxes. Property tax is a very big revenue source for not only the city of Chicago, but for most municipalities in the state. And so for those that own property in the city, they pay taxes, a lot of which go to provide for the schools that you all go to. And then finally, we have revenues that we get from grants from other governmental agencies. We have special revenue funds for those of you who might have seen a water bill. Water is not free in the city of Chicago. And so we have revenue sources such as water and other types of revenue that can only be used for a very specific purpose. We can't use it for a general purpose. So all of those things come together to support the expenditures that the city of Chicago incurs throughout the year. All right, so as we think about our expenditures, as we think about the revenue, as we think about why do we budget, it's important to remember that at the end of the day, we have an organizational structure that at the top of which sits the citizens and residents of the city of Chicago. So most importantly, that is why we engage. We need to hear from you, because at the end of the day, the work that we do is for the benefit of the residents of the city of Chicago, those that visit the city of Chicago, those that do business with the city of Chicago. So our residents are our bosses. Underneath the residents sits our elected officials, the mayor, city council, our city clerk, our city treasurer. They all are representatives of the residents of the city of Chicago. Underneath the mayor sits all of the different functions of the executive branch of the city of Chicago government, including our public safety offices, such as CPD, the fire department, our regulatory offices, such as our Department of Environment, our Business and Consumer Affairs Department. We have our infrastructure department, such as transportation and water, and our airports. So all of those departments come together. They all have needs. They all have costs that they incur. And it's important for us to always remember that at the end of the day, we're doing all of this work on behalf of the residents of the city of Chicago. So you're at the top of our organizational structure. You're like our shareholders. Think about yourselves as owning a share of the city of Chicago. All right, so one thing that I want to make really clear, when we do a budget for the city of Chicago, it is for the city of Chicago government. But we work in the context of a lot of different agencies in the city. They have their own budgets. Can anyone name one of our sister agencies? If you're a student, you go to a school that is represented by CPS. Thank you. That's a sister agency. We have other sister agencies like the Park District. A lot of you live by parks. You might go to programming at the Park District. I see our superintendent is sitting in the back. Hello, superintendent. CTA, how many of you guys ride CTA? Did you know that they're not in our budget? Did you know they have their own budget? They have their own budget. They have their own board of directors. City colleges, some of you might go to or might be going to the City College of Chicago. They have their own budget. And finally, Chicago Housing Authority, its own separate entity that has its own budget, raises its own revenue, and so forth. We all work together in order to make sure that we as a city are working to the betterment of our residents, but they all have different budgeting processes. Our budget does include some considerations for our sister agencies, but when City Council sits down in November to debate and finally pass the budget presented by the mayor, it is a different budget from these agencies. And so it's always important to remember, if you're sitting in here, we do want to understand what could be happening at CPS. We do want to understand how do we make your lives better as it relates to your experience within CPS. But the budget and the things that you'll be talking about are not CPS's budget, all right? So with that in mind, we are in the midst of developing our 2025 budget. So next year's budget, we always plan for a year ahead. And we're right in the midst of that. You have a number of commissioners that are at the tables with you tonight, and that's really, really important. These are people who are making incredibly significant decisions for how this city works every single day, and they're here tonight because they want to be here. They want to hear from you. They want to understand your point of view of how you're experiencing what happens in this city. And so take advantage of the time that you have with them tonight. Let them hear, as the mayor said, let us hear the good, the bad, the ugly, right? We want to hear it all. And so they're hearing from you because they're in the midst of trying to decide what they're going to send to me as a budget request this year. And so this is the perfect opportunity for you to tell them how you are feeling, what you want to see, because in a few short weeks, they'll be turning in their budget requests. After the budget requests are turned in, we work, and we work to get a balanced budget based on the priorities and the vision of our chief executive, who is the mayor of this city. The mayor will be presenting his budget. I hope some of you will be at the budget address in October. We would love to see you there because I'm pretty sure some of the things that you guys are going to say tonight and what we heard last night are going to make their way into his budget. And so we invite the citizens of the city to come and hear his address and to hear what he has said and what he has prioritized for this city. And that happens in October. And then City Council does a long 2 weeks of budget hearings where each of these commissioners that are at the tables with you tonight have to come before them and explain why the things that are in the budget are a priority for the city. And then finally, City Council will pass a budget before the end of the year, hopefully before Thanksgiving. And so all of that work that really started in January of this year culminates in the passing of the budget in November, so that we can then start the next year with a fresh budget. So how many of you guys feel like you're budget experts now? How many of you guys want to come and work in the budget office? Yes, okay, we do have student internships as well as most of the commissioners here. Thank you so much for your being here tonight. Thank you for expressing your opinions and your viewpoints. We definitely want to hear them. And I look forward to talking to many of you tonight. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to our youth commissioner.
Thank you, Director Guzman. In the packet you received when you walked in, there are numerous programs that city departments are looking for feedback on. Please try to focus your conversations on the programs outlined there. Okay, so roundtable discussions will be happening within the topics that are on the screen. We're going to be doing 3 sessions each, each of which will be 15 minutes of discussion. Once each round ends, feel free to move to a different table in a new subject area or stay at the same table to continue your engaging discussion. Oh, okay. Can everyone here who has read last year's budget roundtable report raise their hand, please? Yes, back there. I see you. You work in the budget office. Can everyone who watched the videos that were emailed out yesterday raise their hand? Emailed out this morning. Oh? Anybody? No? Okay. It's all good. The first time I attended one of these events a couple weeks ago, I also hadn't watched the videos or read the report. Sometimes we forget to do our homework. The team at the City of Chicago and the Mayor's Office have worked incredibly hard to put together a comprehensive report on all the feedback received in last year's budget roundtables and how that information helped shape this year's budget. If you have a couple free minutes, I'd encourage you to take a look at that. The videos that were sent out earlier today were supposed to help folks get a general understanding of some of the programs that we'll be discussing tonight. However, no matter your level of preparedness, we are so excited to hear from you and learn your insights about how we can improve our incredible city. Now, go forth and engage, enjoy some fantastic conversations, and maybe make a few new friends along the way. I know I made a new friend tonight. Thank you.